All right, welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're taking a look at It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be by Paul Arden.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
It really is. It's a really visually striking book, too, like black and white imagery and bold typography. You can really tell just by looking at it that he was a creative guy.
Yeah, he was a huge name in advertising, right?
Absolutely, a legend. But this book, it's not just for advertising folks. It's packed with wisdom that can apply to, honestly, like pretty much anything you want to achieve in life.
And that's what we're here to dig into. Find the gold and see how it can help you, the listener, reach your full potential.
That's the mission, so let's jump right in. One of the things that really grabbed me early on was Arden's view on ambition. Like, he flat out says that most rich and powerful people, they're not necessarily geniuses.
Right.
They just had this burning desire for wealth and power. Like, it was almost a self-fulfilling prophecy.
He even ties it back to, like, The Art of War and The Prince, those classic strategy books.
Yeah.
It's like he's saying, hey, the same kind of thinking that wins battles or builds empires, that can apply to your personal goals too.
Absolutely. And he's got this great story about Victoria Beckham. When she was a teenager, apparently she said she didn't just want to be a singer, she wanted to be as famous as Persil Automatic.
The laundry detergent.
Yeah, Persil Automatic in the UK, it's a big brand over there.
Wow. I mean, that's a vision, right? Not just famous, but that famous.
Exactly. And Arden is all about that crystal clear vision. He says it's like, if you're aiming for a target, but there's no target there, how can you possibly hit it right?
Makes sense.
And it's not just about having the vision, it's about aiming beyond what you think you're capable of.
So think bigger.
Think bigger, bolder, don't limit yourself. Now, here's where Arden gets really interesting. He says that the cleverest people in school, they aren't always the most successful in life.
That one definitely made me pause.
Right. It challenges, like, everything we're taught about success.
Yeah, like good grades equal good life.
Right. But Arden's saying it's not that simple. People who really thrive, they're driven by something different.
More than just book smarts.
Exactly. It's about, like, applying knowledge, using your imagination, and constantly wanting to learn and grow.
Which brings us to his fundamentals for success, right? He lays out these core principles, super concise, but powerful.
Yeah, and you can see how they connect to this idea of, like, not just being clever, but being driven. So one of the big ones is energy. He says it's 75% of the job. And I love this. If you haven't got it, be nice.
Oh, that's classic. It's like, even if you're not feeling super energized, at least don't bring everyone else down.
Exactly. Then he's got this advice about seeking out criticism, not praise. Seems counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, we all want to be told we're awesome.
Right. But Arden's saying, if you really want to improve, ask, what's wrong with this? How can I make it better?
So actively seek out the tough feedback.
Because it's way more valuable than a pat on the back in the long run. And then he talks about taking responsibility, owning your mistakes. He says blaming others keeps you stuck.
He tells this funny story about a kid blaming a goose and the goose blaming the kid for something.
Yeah, I remember that one. We've all been there. It's like refusing to own up keeps you from learning.
And speaking of learning, he's big on sharing ideas freely, not hoarding them.
Yeah, that one resonated with me. Be generous with your knowledge.
Because the more you share, the more comes back to you, even if it's not directly.
Right. New ideas, fresh perspectives.
It creates this awesome cycle of creativity.
And on that note, Arden's a big believer in maximizing the present moment. He actually says, don't look for the next opportunity. The one you have in hand, is the opportunity.
So true. We're always looking for the perfect situation.
But it might never come. Or we waste time waiting for it. Arden saying, make the absolute most of what's right in front of you.
Action over intention, every time.
Exactly. And while you're doing that, Arden says, accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. He even has whole chapters on this.
Find that core truth in an idea and make it shine.
Like that radio ad he uses as an example, the suntan lotion one. The voice gradually goes from like a regular English accent to a full-on West Indian accent.
Grammatizing that deep tan,
Yeah,
right?
taking it to the extreme. And that leads us to, I think, one of the most important things in the book, embracing mistakes and originality.
Mistakes are essential, he says.
He straight up says, the person who doesn't make mistakes is unlikely to make anything.
And he backs that up with quotes from, like, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Edison.
All these greats who knew failure was part of the process.
And then there's Beckett, right? Fail, fail again, fail better.
Love that one. Arden wants us to see those failures as feedback. Keep iterating, keep improving.
He even challenges the whole notion of being right.
Yeah, he says clinging to being right can stifle you.
Being wrong, though, that opens up possibility, makes you take risks, get out of your comfort zone,
Leads to original thought.
and it puts you in the present moment, which he loves.
Now, all throughout the book, Arder's got these little nuggets of unconventional wisdom, almost
Right.
like,
Like fortune cookie wisdom, but deeper.
yeah, exactly. So, for example, he says, don't put your cleverness in front of the communication.
So let the message shine through. Don't let your ego block it.
Right. And then, don't promise what you can't deliver. Solid advice for life.
Totally. And he gets into understanding your audience, too. Know your client's aims. All clients aspire to status.
Oh, yeah, he's got that story about a government campaign that was all PR, not actually helping people.
It's about figuring out people's motivations, even institutions.
And then this one's surprisingly practical. What do you do when your client won't buy? Do it his way, then do it your way.
Like a strategic compromise.
Yeah, satisfy them in the short term, but still showcase your vision. He even tells a story about winning a big government account by using that exact approach.
So it works.
And when it comes to getting things done, Arden doesn't mess around. Don't take no for an answer. And even more bold, when it can't be done, do it. If you don't do it, it doesn't exist.
It's like he's challenging us to defy limitations.
Absolutely. And to illustrate that point, he brings up Orson Welles and Citizen Kane, like pushing boundaries to create something groundbreaking. Now, let's move on to Arden's thoughts on creative strategies. This is where his ad background really shines. He comes right out and says, doing a layout means having an idea.
So design isn't just about looks, it's about conveying the message.
Exactly. And then he said something that kind of surprised me. Rough layouts sell ideas better than polished ones?
It's because they leave room for the client's imagination, right?
I think so, yeah. It invites them to collaborate.
Be part of the process.
And then there's this one. If you get stuck, draw with a different pen. What do you make of that?
I think it's about shaking things up.
Changing your perspective.
Exactly. He tells a story about using watercolors for a storyboard, and it got them a huge budget increase, just a shift in thinking.
Love that. And then he tells us suppliers are only as good as you are, so push your collaborators to excel.
Right. Guide them, inspire them.
And don't be afraid to work with the best. Surround yourself with talent. Now, this one might surprise you. He says, do not try to win awards.
Wait, really?
He actually thinks awards can be harmful to creativity.
How's that?
He says, chasing awards leads to playing it safe, just trying to please the judges. Instead, he says, focus on your vision, do work that's truly groundbreaking.
So, impact over trophies.
Exactly. And then he goes on to say that anyone, regardless of their position, can make a big difference. He even gives specific examples for different roles, like how you can make your company great. Don't expect top management to lead the way. Decide you are going to make the company great.
That's empowering.
Right. Take ownership, take initiative. And he's got similar advice for senior managers, junior account handlers.
He even talks about media buyers.
It's all about thinking differently, finding your niche to make a difference. Now, let's dive into what he says about new business and pitching.
That's always a challenge, right?
Totally. And he starts by acknowledging that creative can mean different things to different clients.
So understanding their aims is key.
Exactly. And he's got some really specific tips for improving your success rate, like create a strong, impactful slogan that captures the client's aspiration.
And hammer it home. Repeat it throughout the presentation.
He also says to appeal to their ego, showcase their logo, highlight their brand values, make them feel good.
And present your creative work first to hook them. Now, this one's interesting. He says, don't use your best people on new business pitches.
Wait, what? Why?
He thinks their ideas might be too out there for a new client.
Gotta meet them where they're at first, then blow their minds later.
Exactly. And finally, this one's kind of random. Aim to present on a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah, Arden's got his reasons. It's all about timing and psychology.
He's like a master of client psychology. Fascinating how those little details can make such a big difference.
It's all about the details.
Right. It's not just about being good. It's about understanding how to be effective.
And wanting it badly enough to figure it all out, just like Arden says.
It's amazing how he can take these big ideas and just like condense them down into these little nuggets of wisdom. Makes you want to write them all down.
He's really good at that. It's not just theory, it's stuff you can actually use.
Yeah, totally. Now, before we go too far, I wanted to come back to something we mentioned earlier. Arden's personal philosophy. Like, the book gives us these glimpses into his own experiences, adds another layer to it all.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that story he tells about his finest hour,
Yeah.
that photo shoot for Vogue,
The one where he almost got fired.
that's the one.
Yeah.
But he ends up creating some of his best work. It's such a perfect example of how he approaches creativity
Yeah.
and taking risks.
Sounds like he thrives under pressure, not afraid to push those boundaries.
Not at all. And that's what makes him so unique. He encourages us to have that same spirit, like see challenges as opportunities to do something amazing.
So for our listener who's out there, maybe navigating their own career, their own creative path, what would you say is the most valuable takeaway from all this?
Arden's message, it's simple, but it hits hard. It's not about how good you are, it's about how good you want to be. Your success isn't about some talent you're born with, it's about how much you desire it and how much you're willing to work for it.
So don't wait for opportunity to knock.
Create it.
Create it. And don't be afraid to be bold, to think differently.
Exactly. Break the mold.
We hope this deep dive into Paul Arden's "It's not how good you are, it's how good you want to be" has given you some great insights and maybe even some inspiration. Now, we'll leave you with this. What's your finest hour waiting to happen? What bold move will you make to bring your vision to life?
It's really inspiring, to see someone who not only achieved that level of success, but also like took the time to share what they learned. It's like he's giving us a roadmap.
Yeah, and he does it in such a fun way, too. Like you're laughing and learning at the same time.
Oh, absolutely.
Ah,
And speaking of laughing, did you catch that part where he compares advertising to preaching?
yeah. It seemed kind of strange at first, but
Yeah, makes sense.
right. It does. When you think about it, it's all about persuasion.
Exactly. Selling a product, a service, an idea. You've got to connect with people, get them to buy into what you're saying.
And that's a skill that goes way beyond any one job.
Oh, for sure. If you need to influence people, persuade them, inspire them,
It's all connected.
yeah, it's all about being a good communicator.
Well, I gotta say, after this deep dive into "It's not how good you are, it's how good you want to be," I'm feeling pretty fired up, ready to tackle some of those big, ambitious goals.
That's the Arden effect, right? He gives
Ah.
you that energy, that drive to go create something awesome.
So, to our listener, we leave you with this challenge. What's your finest hour just waiting to happen? What bold move will you make to bring your vision to life?
Remember, it's not about waiting for the perfect moment.
It's about taking action
Embracing the challenges.
and never losing sight of what you want to achieve. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everybody. We hope you got a lot out of it. And until next time, keep learning, keep creating, keep pushing those boundaries.